Hi, Sure Avatars! Welcome to the first ever bonus episode of your queer video game podcast. My name is Zoe Wild, I'm a trans woman, and my pronouns are she, her. With me for this bonus episode is Amy Lynn, a trans woman whose pronouns are she, her.
Hello.
And Ekami, a bisexual woman, pronouns also she, her.
Hello, hello! Excited to be here.
Yes, and now that I have the Amy's here, we can finally talk about what the Nintendo finally revealed after what feels like 3,000 years, the Switch 2. How do we all feel?
I mean, I'm certainly interested to see, I guess, the more information we're going to get in April. Looking at the designs, I figure that basically most, if not all of the leaks are true. So, like with the magnetic Joy-Con and all that, I'm interested to talk more. We'll get more into it. But initial thoughts are like, I watched it and I went, all right, what's happening in April?
I had kind of joked with Zoe that the trailer was just going to be like a stumbling, like, now announcing the Switch to, is the sequel to, Switch 2. And then it was just going to show the logo Switch 2 and that's it. It wasn't quite that minimal, but it was still fairly minimal. We got ice skating Joy-Cons, which is fun.
Yep.
And we got cool, like, mirror reflection. Like, it kind of, like, it felt like the original Smash Brothers Ultimate trailer with the Inklings. Like, it really gave that kind of energy. Like, it was bombastic and acrobatic and fun, but not a lot was really revealed aside from its bigger and ice skating Joy-Cons.
Yeah. I think I'm like most excited, like it's probably kind of silly to say, but one of the things that genuinely got me excited watching the trailer was I was like, wow, the kickstand is actually the size of the console. That's awesome. Because there's so many times where I've just set up the Switch, like, I mean, I haven't done this in a while, but like set it up to like play with multiple people like on a table, and the kickstand is just not having it. Like, it just immediately falls over.
As much as I do love the Switch for a lot of reasons, form factor, the library, etc., honestly, since maybe the first couple like months, I think that I mostly use the undocked Switch to do eShop purchases while watching something on YouTube. I don't do a lot of handheld Switch playing, so I mean, I'm glad the dock exists, and I'm glad that it's better, but yeah, I'm more into it as a console.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting too, because I was actually just talking a little bit about the trailer for the Switch 2 with some other online friends, mostly that I've met through streaming, and quite a few of them are just like, no, I primarily use it as a handheld. Part of it is like nostalgia for just, you know, the older, like the consoles, the handheld consoles that they grew up with, and like this, because the Switch can be handheld, they're like, yeah, I'm on the go, I'm gonna take it around, which is great. But like for the most part, I'm with you. I mostly use it docked and attached, like connected to a TV, to the point where sometimes it's kind of funny where I'll be sitting down on the couch with my partner and we'll be like, okay, we want to do parallel play, and I mostly play the Switch and he mostly plays the PlayStation. So, but there's sometimes, like, there was a point where I was like, I was in the middle of playing Xenoblade 3 and I was like, this is a cinematic experience, I have to experience this on the TV, but I want to parallel play, but I know he can only use the TV because he's got the PlayStation. So like constantly I'd just be like, hey, do you mind if I just borrow the TV to like watch the cinematic scenes of Xenoblade 3? And he's like, yeah, sure, like I'll just go on my laptop. Like, it was fine. But other times, like for parallel play, I'll just be like, yep, I'll just pull it out for handheld. But primarily, definitely I have it connected to the TV. So I'm glad that they still have at least, I didn't think they would get rid of the dock, but I'm glad they at least, you know, have that still.
Well, as a handheld only player, I haven't actually, I played docked for the first time since Tears of the Kingdom, a week ago, and I played Paper Mario.
Really?
And the input lag was so noticeable that I was like, never again. Forever. So I'm glad about the bigger screen this console's going to have, actually. So let's just quickly go through what they did show in the trailer, because I think we've pretty much talked about this because it's been leaked. But basically, the trailer confirmed everything that was leaked. So they showed off the console. There's a bigger screen, like I mentioned. They put a USB-C port on the top in addition to the one on the bottom. Magnetic Joy-Cons with inverted colors. Mouse functionality was hinted at. So we were talking about the figure skating, the Joy-Cons, that some people compared to mice. So I saw one GIF of the Switch puppy from the first Switch. The controllers, the Joy-Cons in the controller. And the mice were like spinning around the dog. It was really cute.
Oh, that's cute.
We just need a cat to complete the trifecta.
Switch 3.
Get out of the Nintendo Looney Tunes ecosystem.
Backwards compatibility was confirmed for most Switch games. So people noticed that there's no IR sensor on the right Joy-Con anymore. So games that use it like Ring Fit Adventure are probably not compatible. Although my theory is that because it did leak months ago that the old Joy-Cons are going to be compatible. You just won't be able to dock them on the Switch, but they'll be able to use remotely. So you'll be able to play that game with the original Joy-Cons, I would assume, maybe. It would seem weird for Nintendo to say, like, hey, our games aren't playable on this console. But...
Yeah. So, because I'm uneducated, what is the IR sensor?
I mean, it's basically the evolution of what the Wii U or the Wii was using. It's
okay.
It's just an infrared like beam that it shoots out, so it can tell what direction your Joy-Cons are pointed in, as far as I know, and it can like specifically. I mean, the only time I've actually used it specifically, like a feature on it, is when you're playing Ring Fit. After you're done a level and it wants to get your heart rate, you can put your thumb against it.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then you can like check your heartbeat.
Right.
Which is pretty accurate for the most part.
That's cool. So, like, is it more related to like the motion controls of the Joy-Con? Like, is this suggesting that they're not gonna focus so much on motion controls for like Switch 2, or is it just like something totally different?
I think the IR sensor, you can think of it almost as an incredibly simple camera, like the same way a Nautilus eye is an eye. It's like, because like that you can get rudimentary, like if you think about like how they've interpreted Daredevil's vision in media, like really simple versions of that. Like it can tell distance, it can tell basic shapes, like if something's blocking it, like that kind of thing.
Got it.
I would expect the actual motion controls to remain in there.
Okay, cool. Thank you for clarifying.
I think the original Joy-Con also has like some kind of like gyro or like some little like trackball inside or something to that effect that like it tells you like when you're pointed. It's why when you're playing Skyward Sword or anything that requires like aiming like on the Wii. Mario Galaxy is a good example too. I know that game is out of print now, but if you're playing Mario Galaxy on 3D All-Stars, if you can actually aim the Joy-Con in any direction, and then there's a button you press to like orient it as if facing the TV, and you could like point it behind you and still aim at the screen if you wanted. And I know that's not related to the IR sensor. I don't think that's related to the IR sensor.
Got it.
So
interesting.
It was also confirmed that there are back buttons to detach the Joy-Cons right under the triggers.
Thank God.
So that wasn't actually in the video, but someone found a video on Nintendo's website, and I actually went to look for it. I couldn't find it. But anyway, someone did post the video on Twitter. I'll link that in the show notes, but you can see the back buttons being pressed, and then you pull the magnetic Joy-Cons apart from the console, so that way they can't just like fall off. I know a lot of people are worried about that, so...
Yeah, some of my friends were talking about like the magnetism a bit, because they were like one of them said like, oh, like they can't have exceptionally like super strong magnets because that would probably interfere with the system in some way. But then you do want to make it so that they click. Like my friend was basically asking, hey, is there a latch system or is it just pure magnets? So I am interested to see how that would go, because like I mean, I think another comment from one of my friends was like, oh, like would the magnets like lose a bit of strength over time? But like I mean, that's it would be negligible for if they did lose any amount of strength for like years, because I mean, if the magnet's strong enough, it's gonna be good for like decades. So
I think it's the same technology that Apple is using on their MagSafe chargers.
Oh, okay.
So I think I don't know. Again, I'm not really the authority on this. Like I haven't done a ton of research. I'm just accepting that the magic technology that Nintendo puts into their console is gonna work. But I would hope so. Yeah. I think it's electrical. Like I think like something in the Switch is like, although again, if the Switch runs out of batteries, I'm not sure how it continues to tell the Joy-Cons to stay on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, lots to think about for this.
I'm sure they'll answer those kind of questions eventually.
Yeah, for sure. So the part that people were really interested in at the end of the trailer, there were a couple things. So first off, they said it was coming in 2025. So it's nice to know it's coming this year, but they didn't give a specific release date. They confirmed that there's going to be in-person events, which we're going to go into a little bit more detail on later, from April to June to demo the console. And one person on Twitter, Pierre485, a Nintendo analyst, noted that the events end in early June. And they did these same events for the Switch 1. And the Switch 1 released around when the end of these events occurred. So people are speculating that it could be late May to early June when the console releases. Maybe late June at the latest. And that's also what Kit and Krista, who used to work for Nintendo, said. Like, June release makes sense to them. It's something they would have suggested and like helped carry out in Nintendo had they still worked there. They also confirmed that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct on April 2nd, detailing the console and the games. We're not going to hear about much else until then. And they only showed off one game at the end of the trailer, which we're going to come back to, but they showed 2 small clips from Mario Kart, presumably Mario Kart 9. So...
Yeah, I'm interested to know about what... I mean, I think we talked a little bit about, like, the rumored games that might launch with Switch in the last podcast episode for the news segment. It was cool to see Mario Kart 9, but I will say, like... Or, well, what we assume to be 9. But I will say that, like, watching that, I was just like... If purely they just, like if it's just, hey, we're going to release a new Mario Kart with it, I don't know if that's actually going to motivate me enough to buy it around launch day, if I can't even get my hands on a copy for launch day.
Yeah, I think they need a single-player game to go with it, for sure. I'm still banking on Ocarina of Time remake. That's my theory.
I probably would buy it for that. I'm definitely a slut for Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
so, sorry, go ahead.
Are we talking about Mario Kart yet, or?
I mean, we can jump around a bit if we want. I was gonna save it till the dessert at the end.
The dessert at the
end. That's like, keep people listening. Well, let's talk about the Switch 2 events super quick, because we also all got tickets. I think, right? I think it all worked out for us. But...
Well, yes. We got like chances of tickets. I think.
That's true.
Yeah. And it was very arduous.
I had an easy time, so I'm so sorry that you both had to deal with the refresh funny. Problem.
That was, yeah. Basically, so Zoe was able to get a ticket fairly quickly, and then Amy Lynn and I were trying to get in on to get the chance to enter the draw, and we were getting a lot of really funny errors, and the page was very slow, but eventually we both got it.
a nice variety of error messages. Sometimes there is an error message when you press the initial button. Sometimes you had to wait all the way till the end. Sometimes the error message was a nice, like, designed pop-up window, and sometimes it was like a red, like, string of text in like the corner of the page. So yeah, some variety.
At one point, the website just straight up like just shut down for me, and it was like, the system is not working. I was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah, I got that one a few times too. All those uncles are going in a panic.
Yep.
So for some context, we did talk about this a bit earlier too, but Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be previewed at various cities over the course of the spring. So it begins April 4th in New York City, and each weekend is a different city. So Seoul is the last date, June 1st, with 2 more cities TBD afterwards. The event itself is free, but you need a Nintendo account to sign up to go to these events, and the tickets are a lottery system. So I keep saying, like, I have a ticket. I actually have a chance at a ticket. So you can also sign up as a group with up to 6 people from your NSO family group to sign up for these tickets. As of right now, as the time of recording, registration at the time of podcast release as well, registration for the lottery is open, and it will be open until January 26th at 11:59 p.m. in your local time zone. So whatever that is. And there's obviously more info on Nintendo's website. So I suggest, like, just Google Nintendo Switch 2 experience, and the first thing that's going to pop up is the city closest to you.
Yeah, go get your name in. Go throw your hat in the ring.
Some interesting or maybe very boring but important information in case people are still wanting to and can still sign up. If you are on a family plan but you have your own account, so like I signed up independently, and then the friend who I'm part of for the family plan tried to register, I guess, the family, and my name was grayed out. So you can't like double book yourself in a family and independently. Every individual person has one chance in the lottery.
Interesting. When I was signing up, I couldn't even like. I actually tried to click the family group to see if I could add you, Amy, and it just like it like started to load as if it was going to show me the list of names in our family group, and then it just like didn't work, and it was like go get a family group. You need to have one to use this feature, and I was like, I have one.
I have receipts.
But yeah, I'm hopeful that at least one of us will get to go, and then whoever goes and plays whatever game we get to pick. I assume there's gonna be multiple games, but you'll have to pick one.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if did either of you go to the Switch 1 version of this?
No, I didn't even know they did that. Mm-hmm.
So they did. So I went to the Switch 1 event, the equivalent one. I think this one is primed to be bigger than the last one. It was a similar thing though. I think it was a similar like Saturday and Sunday multiple time slots, except you kind of just automatically got an invite if you were on like signed up with Nintendo via the email. And it was really interesting. I got there fairly like on one of the morning slots, so it actually wasn't incredibly busy. It was at the convention center, one of the I think upper rooms in there.
Okay.
And it was really interesting. They had multiple demos, so they had an entire little Breath of the Wild corner, which with I'd say about a dozen Breath of the Wild demos. And then they had about, I think, half a dozen Splatoon 2s, and then I think 3 or so 1-2 Switches. And then, and those were all standing, big kiosk type things. And then they had really interesting, the Switch is very new, it's a new concept. So they had a bunch of couches. And, in front of there were TVs in front of some of the couches, and then some of them you were just playing the Switch handheld mode. And there is where they had a bunch of indie games and smaller games like Disgaea that were, not going to be huge draws like Zelda and Splatoon. But, still interesting. I think Mario Kart was there, but that, had already released on the Wii U. But yeah, it was neat. They had Splatoon giant fiberglass, squid things, and
That's
Mario
cute.
Karts you could get into and for photo ops.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was fun. And as far as Zoe's question / assumption, you could play multiple games. There was just a lineup, right? And
Right.
Lines got longer and longer, and based on the wristband, I didn't stay long enough to find out, but the implication was eventually someone would say your time's up, and you would have to leave to make sure that the
Right.
room just didn't get super crowded. But this one in Toronto is at Exhibition Place. I'm not sure if it said what space exactly it's gonna be in, but regardless,
Enercare
I think it was the Enercare.
well, I know the Enercare Center, but I'm curious about if it's an entire hall or what it's
I think
gonna
it'll be
do.
an entire hall. I think it's gonna be massive.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
so
think they're gonna have hundreds of consoles, but I think they're gonna have a lot of space.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. I think it's going to be bigger than the Switch 1 event, because the Switch is a known quantity now, and I think they're going to try to get as many people, both us who have signed up for the raffle as well as media, to come in and do the previews. So yeah, hopefully it is big and we all get in, and it'll be good.
I have one more question. Was Mario Odyssey playable there?
Not at that time.
Okay,
No.
so if there's a new 3D Mario coming, I think it'll be the holiday game. I think if it,
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey was teased in the original Switch demo. This time they teased Mario Kart. I think Mario Odyssey 2 or whatever they're doing for the new 3D Mario is probably going to be at the holidays.
That makes sense. I think Wonder was also a holiday release, wasn't it? I think. Yeah. So that seems like a good time usually.
Yeah, it's just too bad because it won't be playable if it's a holiday game. They're not going to have
Right.
anything that won't be available like close to launch, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I guess if Ocarina of Time is getting a remake, I could see that being there for sure.
That'd be super
Let's
cool.
hope. Okay, so this is a tiny bit of news, but something interesting nonetheless, at least for people who are worried about getting a pre-order in eventually. A Bloomberg analyst says Nintendo is planning to ship 20 million units in the first year. So this would be higher than the Switch 1 and the PS5 shipped in their first years, respectively. And specifically, the Switch 1 shipped 14.86 million units, which coincidentally is also a million more units than the Wii U sold in its lifetime.
Right.
So, I hope that curbs scalpers, because we know there's going to
Yeah.
be scalpers if the TCG, what's going on with the Pokemon card game right now, is any indication.
Yes,
is
I
that
was-
scalping is
yeah.
back on the market.
Nonsense.
I was just hearing about that from our local comic shop, not just comics, but just our local nerd shop nearby. And I was like, wow, like I'm surprised that this is happening.
Yeah, the store here in Toronto, 401 Games, which I've respected and gone to very much. They're super queer inclusive and like a great store, but their owners are capitalist, of course. I mean, you would expect them to be, but when Lorcana came out, when Disney Lorcana came out, they couldn't get much stock. So they priced all their stock when they had some at market value. So not MSRP, like double or triple, like whatever scalpers were selling for, they were selling their product for. And now
Oh.
it's the same with Prismatic Evolutions, which just came out today, actually.
Damn.
So,
That's a bummer.
yeah. Thankfully, Best Buys and Walmarts of the world don't do that. So, and especially too, like we're not going to see that with the Switch, too. So don't buy from scalpers. Hold you, like Nintendo's going to make enough of these.
Yeah.
All the leakers have been saying too that Nintendo's delayed this for two reasons: to get the software up to snuff and to get enough units ready for launch that anyone who wants one can get one. Because I don't think they want the issues with the PS5.
Yeah.
Where people desperately wanted one but couldn't get one, because then that just hurts your your game sales, which is where Nintendo really makes their money.
Oh yeah, like I remember when I was hearing rumors or just like little bits of like, oh, maybe this is coming, of people being like, I think they're working on the next PlayStation console, and at that point I had not been able to get a PS5, and I was like, and they're working on a new one. Like I remember just being so incredulous. I was like, what? And then like I think a week later I was able to get a PS5, but yeah.
So leakers, speaking of leakers, we talk about leakers all the time. The leakers that have predicted a lot of accurate things that we know about the Switch 2 or came to find out was true about the Switch 2. Specifically, someone named PH Brazil, who has a longer name who that I can't pronounce, but everyone knows this person online as PH Brazil anyway. And the other person who actually leaked the actual trailer date and when the trailer was coming, basically, Nate the Hate. They said that there's still another Direct coming in February before the Switch 2 Direct. So assumedly this is going to be a Switch 1 Direct with like whatever's left over to release this year, especially since Nintendo doesn't really have any games announced for this year at all. Switch 1 or Switch 2. Like we know that Donkey Kong just came out yesterday.
Yeah.
There's nothing for February, and Xenoblade Chronicles X comes out in March. And we know that obviously Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA are coming. But Pokemon Legends ZA is going to be announced by the Pokemon Company and a Pokemon Presents.
Right.
So that's not even going to come this year from Nintendo. In February from a Nintendo Direct. It's going to be in the Pokemon Presents on the February 27th. It's already leaked. It was data mined, so we know that's happening.
All right.
But however, we know there's a whole bunch of Switch 1 games that are still like due for release. So we know, like I said, Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming, so they could feature that. We know Metroid Prime 4 is coming. They definitely are going to do a deep dive of sorts on that at some point. Professor Layton in the New World of Steam is coming from Level 5.
Right.
Fantasy Life I is coming from Level 5. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D is coming from Square Enix. And Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, we don't know for sure what platforms this is coming to. I don't think they actually said Switch. I could be wrong, but I have to assume that's coming to Switch because 150 million units, and Sega's been supporting the Switch for as long as they can. So unless it's physically impossible to get the game running on the Switch 1, it's going to be there 100%. And of course, for years, some of these leakers, both accurate and not, have been leaking games and hinting at games and rumor mongering stuff like Metroid Prime 2 and 3 Remastered, Wind Waker HD, like Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess HD, the Fire Emblem 4 remake, Genealogy of the Holy War. Kirby Planet Robobot was leaked by, I think, PH Brazil as well. PH Brazil said, I think last year, if I'm correct, there was going to be a GameCube game and a 3DS game coming to Switch this year. And one reputable leaker said, or at least semi-reputable, they got a few things right recently. Samus Hunter on Twitter said that Metroid Prime 2 is coming in February, which would track as another shadow drop like we saw 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that would be the GameCube game, and the 3DS game would be Kirby Planet Robobot. So,
Okay. Interesting.
and the only other game that's leaked is, or supposedly hinted at, Sakurai, who developed all the Smash Bros. Games, said that his Kid Icarus Uprising game, he kind of like winked at the camera in one of his YouTube videos and said, it would be great if Kid Icarus could get a remaster on Switch. Someone should do that. And I'm just like, okay, obviously he knows something, but he's not saying it right.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty great. I like that.
but what are you guys hoping to see in this February Direct?
I mean, like, I think keeping the tradition of Kirby the Grim Reaper would be kind of cute to have Kirby come along and bless the dying console. So that would be cool. Kid Icarus Uprising is probably one of my favorite games. I'm not completely sure if I would want to revisit it because a lot of the coolness of Kid Icarus Uprising is sort of the story and the twists and turns it goes through. Like, depending on, I mean, I think we talked about this before recently, but the pricing, if it's not a full-priced game, maybe.
It will be.
Yeah. It also, it does have it did, let's say, have a pretty full-fledged multiplayer mode as well. It's quite good. But we'll see, maybe in the spirit of Nintendo remasters, it would be Kid Icarus Uprising and plus Bowser Jr.'s Revenge on Hades or something. So, I'd be curious to see what happens with whatever bonus, hour-long story mode they add to it, which would be a lot of fun. I don't know, like, it's so weird with not knowing what's coming.
Yeah.
Like, if Kid Icarus comes and I have nothing to play, I'll be tempted. Kirby Robobot, again, it depends on what the bonus mode is. We're running out of Kirby characters to do a run through of. We've done, I think, Meta Knight twice, DDD once, and Magolor once. So Susie is a possibility, the kind of robot girl from Robobot. And yeah, ZA is my most anticipated when it comes to original Switch, but that's coming almost certainly in February, in the Pokemon Direct.
Yeah, I would say, I know that there has been, I think you maybe sent this along and maybe it was purely rumor, but there was some talk about Monolith Soft doing a game for Nintendo Switch 2, and I was like, fucking sold, take my money. Like, you have my soul, Monolith Soft. What's another, however much the Switch is going to be out of my wallet. So I'd be really excited for that, because I really like what they've been doing lately with the Xenoblade series, and I would die if they were ever thought about porting and maybe even remaking Xenogears, because I've just heard so many great things about that game. So that would be really cool to have for Switch 2. I'd also really like it might just be a bit of a shot in the dark, but I did really like the kind of like renaissance that I've been seeing lately with Switch remakes of DS and 3DS games. I was really excited when they announced Another Code Recollection, which was I played the original game on DS. I just never beat it. And those are like great like point and click kind of mystery games. Definitely is like it's the era of like Ghost Trick too. Like Ghost Trick got a remake, which was awesome. I love Ghost Trick so much. And it would be really cool if they I don't know, just like I would be excited to see a remake of another DS or 3DS game, as well as I am waiting with bated breath on whenever the next Ace Attorney game is going to come out, because my God, it's been years. I don't know how many years. It's been so long. And like, part of me thinks that like that I'm just like, I haven't finished the technically latest Ace Attorney game purely because I don't really want it to end and like continue just to wait for like whenever the next game's coming. So, and like it'd be really cool if they did it for Switch too, because it would be the first like new big console game aside from like the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles with which was like a very long before Ace Attorney prequel, which had like all these cool updated models and stuff. I would love something from Ace Attorney new to come that wouldn't just be like, hey, we're just like gonna port it from a handheld. Although if Nintendo just decides to release a new handheld suddenly with their Switch 2, I'd probably also buy it because I'm a slut for Nintendo too. So like, it's fine. Yeah, I think those are my main ones.
I would like to see Gecko Gods, personally, which is an indie game about a tiny gecko and just kind of like roaming around the desert and solving puzzles. It's still dated on Nintendo's website for spring 2024, but I assume they hit development hiccups. It's an indie game. Like, the fact that they had a release date set at all at any point is kind of wild to me. So I want them to take all the time they need to make that game. But as soon as it's out, I'm pretty certain the publisher is Super Rare Games and they have a physical arm and they're going to do probably a limited run, not limited run games, but like a limited printing of the game. I'm going to pick up the digital copy so I can play it right away. And I'm going to get the physical copy so I can hawk it in front of my pet gecko. But also, I'd really like to see them finally do another Mario Baseball because we're talking about being slutty for games. Like, I'm a huge slut for a good Mario Baseball game. So, but I know we all really want to talk about Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart 10, whatever they're going to call it. I have a bunch of theories about this, but I want to hear from you guys first.
Oh, like how we feel about it? Like what we saw?
Yeah. Go forth and tell the audience, tell our listeners what you think of Mario Kart.
Well, so I was, it was nice to see, just a game shown on this kind of trailer because for the console itself, because I was like, oh, I was wondering for a while, like if they would announce a new game with it, and I'm sure we'll get more information in April. Yeah, judging from it, I will say the first time when I watched the trailer and I saw that, I was just like, the cynical person in me was just like, they're just porting Mario Kart 8 and it's gonna have 10 new tracks that you have to pay for. But I mean, the more that I was looking at it, I was like, oh no, there's new things that I'm seeing. This does feel like a new game for Mario Kart. And I think it'd be fun. I always like playing Mario Kart. That's one of those kind of timeless play with your friends kind of games. Yeah, I'm interested to see more.
Yeah, I know I asked you to speak next, Amy Lynn, but I'm just gonna note there what Ekami was talking about. Because it looks a bit different, and obviously there's not a huge. We know the track is new, obviously, but we also saw that Mario and Luigi have their Wonder designs. I almost said Odyssey. I meant Wonder.
And completely new DK, yes.
Yes, completely new DK. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
It's exactly like he did in the movie.
So yeah, I'm going to push back on that a little bit. Maybe my, comic art self is coming through. All the commentary I'm seeing online is saying that it's exactly the movie design. It's not exactly the movie design. It is.
Yeah, it's not
I wouldn't say it's significantly different, but it is clearly inspired by the movie design. Or my actual theory is that they've been trying to make this change gradually a little bit over the last few years. And it's all Nintendo synergy. Nintendo, showed their internal design documents to Illumination and basically said, look, this is how Donkey Kong's going to look in 3 years. So make him look a little bit more like this, but not enough to completely alienate people who know who Donkey Kong is. So everything will be fine. And I think we can also see that with the Nintendo a Super Nintendo world designed for Donkey Kong and Diddy, where it is kind of this combination of the Rare design and what I call the Donkey Kong 94 design. And yeah, he's super wide in the Mario Kart trailer.
Yeah.
His fur is darker than usual. At least, we'll see. It might just be lighting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a super like exaggerated design. And I really hope all the characters get a little bit of that, like that kind of wonder flair of a little bit more animated, like a lot more expressive. You can see that a little bit with Bowser's, tweak design, which again, Mario Wonder inspired. Wario and Waluigi were pretty blurry and in the background, but I'm super excited to see what their kind of new form, so to speak, looks like. And I'm really curious if Nintendo actually takes this and, replaces the, on the side of the Nintendo Store marketing. And I think that probably not. But, it is very interesting, and almost to the point where I'm wondering if they're going to call this Super Mario Kart Wonder or something, instead of 9 or 10, just because like there is such like, it's a very short trailer. Like out of a 2-minute trailer, it's probably like 20 seconds or something like that. But even in that short amount of time, there is a lot of really interesting like art and design stuff going on, especially with the characters, a little bit with the backgrounds, but we've seen one level, one kind of Yoshi shaped shop. But yeah, I'm very excited I'm excited to see more. I'm excited to see if Diddy Kong especially is also sort of, I guess, inspired by his movie design. Because with Diddy, there's a lot more distinction between the little cameo we got in the movie and, what we're seeing on the art for Super Nintendo World.
Well, speaking of like little details, one of the details we did see is that there's going to be 24 racers per track, per race, basically. I have a couple of theories, though, based on some of the details we saw.
Okay.
One of them might already be kind of outdated because I actually completely forgot about Sonic Racing Cross Worlds while I was writing this theory. Because I was like, oh, they're going to call it Super Mario Cross. And I guess they still could. They could really screw with Sega and release this the same weekend as Sonic Racing Cross Worlds and also call it Super Mario Cross. But I think they're going to probably, I don't think they're going to call it Mario Kart 9. Maybe they call it Mario Kart 10 or Mario Kart X. Because technically, Super Mario Kart Tour, or whatever it's called, is technically the 9th Mario Kart game. It's the only game the only spin-off Mario Kart that's ever had tracks imported into a mainline Mario Kart game. So I think it's safe to say that it's probably official, and Nintendo might consider it the 9th one. Plus, it's trendy to skip 9 when numbering things in tech now, so... My second theory, though... and this does come back to the whole, let's call it Mario Cross thing, Mario Kart Cross. I think I was saying Super Mario earlier. I was like Super Mario 9 or Super Mario 10. Anyway, I think the game is going to have a lot of crossover characters. So, the first thing I noticed, and this is like, I feel like Charlie Day at the whiteboard, which is funny because he voices Luigi now, but I noticed the name of the course. I was like, oh, of course they just showed Mario Circuit off. Like, it's the first course in every Mario Kart game, like, ever. Like, it's always just like, here's the course that teaches you how to play the game. There's a couple of turns, there's maybe like one jump and a few tiny obstacles, but like really it's there for like people who are just learning how to play, which is fine. Like it serves its purpose, but I'm like, we didn't get to see anything exciting. We didn't get to see like a crazy new track or whatever, or a wild new track. But I noticed that it's not called Mario Circuit. It's called Mario Bros Circuit, which they've never called it that before. And they have changed the name of Mario Circuit to Mario Raceway on the N64. So there's precedent for changing the name up a little for like, I don't know, variety's sake. But usually, Luigi gets his own course, hence why they don't call anything Mario Bros. Course or whatever. So, I'm wondering if this is because they need to like combine Mario and Luigi's tracks into one, because they need a lot more room for all the guest characters to get their own courses. Because there's going to be a lot more than just the handful we got in the last game. Like, Link gets his own course. I'm thinking Pikachu, Kirby, Isabelle, Inkling Girl, Samus, Captain Olimar, Captain Falcon. Like, I mean, obviously there's like a whole bunch, like Shulk could probably get a track, or at least a playable character.
Yeah.
Especially too, if there's 24 racers per race, it's gonna get kind of samey seeing the same 24 out of, like, let's say there were 48 in the original, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, there were 48 characters in the game total after the DLC. Right. So if you bring back all 48 of those characters, which is pretty much all the Mario Kart characters that have ever existed in a Mario Kart game, barring maybe like a small handful, like, you're gonna see the same 48 characters like in almost every race. Yeah, it's gonna get samey. So whether they only have 48, I still think there's gonna be like half the characters are gonna be guest characters, even if it's still called Mario Kart, even if it's not like highlighted as a crossover game. I still think there's going to be at least 24 guest characters, and it's going to be one of the selling points of the game. And we're going to see, like, yeah, there's not going to be a Luigi's Mansion course necessarily, because they've got Mario Bros circuit now to say, like, this is the Mario course. Okay, now the second course in the opening track pack is the Zelda course, and then there's the Pokemon course, and then there's the Kirby course.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like Smash Brothers in that sense, like, if they do go that route, because, like, that was the big selling point.
And just like Smash Bros. Brawl, they've changed the first Mario course into a desert for some reason. So there's also weird precedents when it comes to crossover and desertification of Mario level.
Oh my god, this is Sakurai's new game.
It's not even Mario Kart, it's actually Smash Brothers.
That would be so funny. Like, it just like zooms out and there's just like Battlefield and it's just like a new Mario Kart level.
That would be so funny.
The reason why I feel like a little bit of cold water to the crossover idea, and I think that there's an incredible chance that you're right, Zoe, but I feel that, like, people should probably lower their expectations for things like for characters like Pokemon and like all the other sort of second party, third party type of things. Like, I think it's more likely we're just going to get the first party Nintendo like characters, like the I don't want to say pure, but, you know, the solely first party characters. So, you know, Animal Crossing, Zelda, Splatoon, Pikmin, what else is there? F-Zero, I guess, technically.
Right.
Star Fox. So I'm not sure we're going to get our Kirby's and Pokemon and Earthbound and all those fun stuff. I think it's... I mean, and not that...
it could come as DLC if there are crossover characters. I think Pikachu and Kirby could come as DLC. I actually realized why Kirby might be a bad candidate for Mario Kart, because he's got to bring his Warp Star, right, as his like main cart. But every cart in a Mario Kart game has to be playable for all characters, and you just cannot fit Donkey Kong.
Yeah. And Kirby does have vehicles in the form of like the wheelies, but even those are like, you know, a single wheel. Like, again, you can't fit Donkey Kong on a tiny wheel, although you can fit DDD on a wheel. So who knows? I
mean, that just makes me think like just talking about crossovers just makes me think how much fun I would have playing as Phoenix Wright in a little go-kart on a course.
Yeah, I think, like, if there are, like, I guess, third-party crossovers, I think, like, I'd say the most likely would be, like, Pac-Man
Chocobo?
And the Pac-Man and the, what do you call them? The Tatsu Tatsujin drums, because that would sort of reference the Mario Kart arcade. And, you know, Nintendo's very good friends with Bandai Namco, so... I could see those being easier third parties than, you know, a Sonic or a Mega Man or a Phoenix Wright.
Right.
Or a Master Chief or
Yeah, I definitely think the base game is for sure going to be like, if there's like characters with weird rights, it'll be like Pikachu and Kirby. It won't be like, like Sonic or Cloud or Pac-Man in the base game. Like, I think I also think this game is probably going to have a lot of DLC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So...
hey, maybe Danica Patrick could come back to crossover racing games.
Yeah.
So do we have any final thoughts on Mario Kart 9 or the Switch presentation overall, theories, before we wrap up the bonus episode?
I
most of
think
it for
the
me.
single player game might end up being something weird like Donkey Kong 64 2. Or like, because if it is Mario Kart at launch, it would be weird-ish if there was also Mario, like, I was gonna say Sunshine 2, Mario Odyssey 2. But I also don't know what else they would put as their single player game unless they like delayed Metroid Prime 4. Because I don't think a 3D Kirby would be a big system seller. I don't even technically think on its own Donkey Kong would be, but I think if they market it right, there's a possibility. But yeah, I am really curious. I like your Zelda Ocarina of Time remaster idea, but I am really curious what the big single player game is going to be.
Yeah, because I feel like with everything that we've seen in the design and how they're like everything we've seen about the console itself, being the Switch 2, and us talking about like, you know, it would be really nice if they had a single player game with it. Like, I honestly do think that the single player, like, or just some other game is gonna be the big selling point, because I do kind of worry about, like, you know, the possibility that the Switch 2 might go the way in terms of sales as the Wii U did, where it wasn't a whole lot different from the Wii. They did do something like different with the actual gamepad, the tablet, but like it didn't sell well. Although granted, I think they probably have a more robust marketing plan and like game plan for what they want to release on Switch 2. But you know, there's always some part of me where it's just like, oh, I really like when they do something really like big and innovative, and this feels like it's a bigger Switch with some, you know, nicer specs, and it's got
Iwata's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever going to innovate like that again now that he's gone.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough
it is
to call.
a big shame. Like, you know, I was going to say they got lucky with Breath of the Wild. But, like, because if you take Breath of the Wild out of the, like, equation, like, as far as, like, the Switch launch, like, on launch day, I think Nintendo Land is a more interesting, you know, pack-in, like, launch title game. Like, Nintendo Land was so interesting and cool.
Yeah.
And aside from Breath of the Wild, like, they had snipper clips, but that's, you know, kind of like an indie game that Nintendo, like, ate and, you know, repurposed.
They had a Nintendo Land equivalent at launch. Nobody played it. It was terrible and overexpensive. It was called 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, it was bad. That was the difference.
Yeah,
they need a good one.
The difference was it wasn't good. Yeah.
And it needs to be a pack-in for free.
Yeah. Yeah, they just, I feel like they need something more, so I am interested to see what other game they might be. I just hope they're not putting like all of their eggs into Mario Kart 9. I don't know, right?
I never bought Mario Kart 8. I never felt the need. Like, it's like, again, I guess maybe I don't play a lot of multiplayer comparatively to other things, but I always kind of figured, oh, if I feel like playing Mario Kart, it will be at a friend's house. And Mario Kart isn't competitive enough for me to, like, want to train on my own or online. Like, there's always going to be a blue shell that'll help me out, and I can just pick Inkling Girl and be happy. Like, there was never really a huge incentive. Like, aside from the guest character tracks, like, Mario Kart has some nice music, but nothing like, you know, Smash Brothers, where it's, like, nostalgic and exciting. I mean, I guess there were the, you know, old Mario Kart tracks, but it never grabbed me. So I'm excited for what will grab me. I hope something grabs me.
I think something will. But that's just about all the time we have for this bonus episode, because I have to edit it and get it out like ASAP to get in with the zeitgeist, you know?
Yep.
So thank you both for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, True Avatars, for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. If you've made it this far into the episode, I really appreciate you taking the time to support queer-made content, which is a big deal. If you want to support the show, it'd be really great if you could leave a rating or review on your preferred podcast platform. You can find the show on Instagram under True Avatars, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube under the handle @TrueAvatars, all one word. We also have a Facebook page which can be found by searching True Avatars, a queer video game podcast. Importantly, if you or anyone you know is queer and involved with video games in some way, please don't be shy. I would love to hear from more queer voices in video games. Your voice is unique and valid and worth sharing with the world. And if you don't want to be on the show or know anyone who's interested, but you know about a cool queer video game or a games industry story that's queer related, please let me know. The show's official email is trueavatars.podcast@gmail.com. That's trueavatars.podcast@gmail.com. You can also feel free to reach out via the aforementioned social media pages. Things are tough out there, and queer people need to stick together when we can. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again in just a couple of days. Take care and stay safe.